Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Depths, and this is going to be a pre-event video about something completely new, so I have no clue about this, which is going to be the Medjed event. They call it Medjedo or Melodo or something on the Japanese version. I don't know how the translation is, but she's known as Medjed on our side, and she's going to end up being a Thunder Idolin, so, and from what I've seen from a quick glance, she's actually a very decent one, so you might actually want to go after her. But, before I even begin this, there's two things I've actually confirmed, now that I've actually looked at some of the stuff on here as well that involved it. First off, when you go Awakening Kamihime, it increases a combo rate, and that's something I knew about. But the thing is, how much it really increases has been confirmed as well. Originally, Kamihime had an 8% chance of double attack and a 3% chance of triple. Well, add 2% to both of those when you awaken a Kamihime, so it's a 10% chance of double and a 5% chance of triple. Second thing, it has been confirmed that you are getting bonus stats for matching Idolins. I don't remember how much exactly. I don't know if it's either 20% or 10%. I think it's 10%. But the thing is, either way, it's giving them a little bit more of a stat boost. Say, like, you're getting 2,000 attack from a Kamihime, while you're getting 2,200 for that Idolin towards each Kamihime that matches it. So, that said, matching at element Idolins can help you a little bit, but it's way, way more versatile when you're having Idolins like, say, Anubis and Monogarmer, who had the 100% effects, and then on top of that, there's also Idolins that we had for events that give you 50% if you match them. So you're automatically matching elements when you get those ones too, so that's something to know. It's also the same case with favorite weapons, but I don't fully know the favorite weapon types and all that. Like, and it could be misleading. So like, somebody could get released from a gun, but somehow like a staff weapon. You'd never know. That involves a lot of research, and unfortunately, it's a little bit more than what I can do on my own, because we have way too many Kamihime in the game, and then I don't know if anybody's pinpointed each and every single favorite weapon anyway. Especially in the cases of Souls, they may have more than one, so who knows. But anyways, getting on with this event, they have a frequent question thing and all this type of stuff, but it's the same typical stuff. It's like, handle the highest difficulty you can. If you can handle Ultimate, you're in a very good position. If you can still handle Expert, you have a decent position to get at least one of the SSR weapons, so there you go. And typically, the SSR stuff is your high priority, except for the fact that there's one SSR weapon that takes a lot more materials. Get the cheaper one first. So that's something to know. But always try to get all the SSR stuff you can, because one, it's free. Two, they make some very good materials if you don't use them anyway, either Idolin orbs or skill levels for weapons and all that. And I cannot stress that enough. It is very helpful. I put a major spike on my fire team because of that. Because if you've recently seen a video, I have 100% Idolin for them. Speaking of which, I might be using them in the Ragnarok fight instead of my light team. We'll see. But typical stuff is to try and get the normal stuff, like, say, the assault weapons if you need them, half elixirs, gotcha tickets definitely. If you can, maybe the magic jewels, because you can get like 3,000 of them. The soul points depends on the person. Quite frankly, I don't need any soul points, but eventually we are going to get something that lets us upgrade the abilities of souls and all that, so that said, collecting soul points isn't a bad idea. It just might not be the top priority. But, of course, there's books if you want them to, the grimoires, but if you've been doing other stuff like, say, we just recently had a union event, you can get a ton of books from that, guild orders given them, there's stuff like that. But anyways, from what I've seen, you're getting an Idolin that gives you up to 40% elemental attack for Thunder, but also gives you a 10% damage cut from water, which is the element that's weak against thunder. So it's another one of those add-ons. They're pretty good to have, especially if you're abusing weaknesses, so that's something to know. And something else that should be mentioned is the fact that weakness gives you an additional elemental attack boost. Around 50%, I do believe. So, that said, if you are using a 100% Eidolon, either as a friend Eidolon or you actually own one, it may also be a good idea to try and get maybe one that's got character attack, depending on how strong it actually, like how strong your grid actually is. Again, that involves some calculations. I've managed to say something about that before, but again, it's still dependent on what you have. Now, I don't exactly know what these weapons are doing right here. It doesn't necessarily say it too quickly. However, one of them looks like it says Assault and Stinger. So, who knows? One of them's definitely got Defender. And of course, if enemies are too strong, just go to a lower one. Don't try and kill your elixirs just by going through stuff. Because if you're going through an optimal run, you're not needing any elixirs at all. That's the one thing about all that. Because there's going to be content where you just can't use an elixir, and there's content where you can only use it once. Preferred, it's just to not have any elixirs used at all. I mean, if you get pretty close to finishing the stage, then maybe, but at the same time, it's still preferred not to use them. So, something for the newer players, basically. Now, of course, since this is an Advent event, you're on your own. So, if you aren't that strong, you're probably not getting past Expert. Now, granted, the day I'm uploading this video, there is a Sunday quest. If you manage to get materials to upgrade your Kamihime and all that, you can spike their levels and they should be able to handle Expert. Should. But I can't guarantee that. You still need a decent grid to get you to both of your stats anyways. Because in terms of power, the things that give you the most effect, I'd say accessories and Kamihime are a little bit tied. The Soul's got a little bit more weight than Kamihime. Then there's Eidolons, which has more weight than those. And then there's your weapons, which have the most weight. So that's something to know about. And I can easily say this, weapons give you at least a good 60% of your power, so yeah. Especially when the skill levels start getting high. Some people are wondering how I was doing so much damage. That's because my light team has a weapon grid that's nothing but skill level 20 or higher because I have a final break weapon. So that's something to know. Now typically, you're going to end up going through these fights as is. I recommend going through at least every difficulty once just for the magic jewels, but that's up to you. Because they're easy magic jewels if you're capable of clearing Ragnarok. Even if you're able to clear Ultimate, it's still an easy magic jewels. You just probably won't get the materials from Ragnarok, which you do need for Final Break. So, keep that in mind. But by the looks of things, the only two that really matter for HP amounts is Expert and Ultimate. Expert, she's got 680,000 HP, the boss that is. And then Ultimate, it's 1,150,000. And I'm already saying right here, her special skill triggers a lot. Her raging can hit everybody, and her normal move can hit multiple targets at random. I'm already looking at that. That's going to be a little bit tricky. So, let's see here. It says special attack used in turn from top to bottom. And if you're deleting buffs, it's going to simply make it do it again. So, it's going to do damage by the looks of it, and give defense up. Do the same thing again, but give avoidance rate up, and then cancel debuffs. Both of those will cancel debuffs, so you better wait to apply them before then, unless you can just take her out one turn. And then it's going to be an attack power increase for the third one. Attack power down granted to you for the next one. Defense power down granted to you for the one after that. Paralysis after that. And it's going to do that every single turn until all that stuff's gone or worn off or whatever. So, yeah, that's going to be annoying. She's going to hit you with a lot of different buffs and debuffs to have to deal with. So, yeah. That is a tricky thing to be dealing with. Okay, and looking at this, you're going to get hit 5 times, basically, by her random charge attack in her normal state. Her charge and raging, however, is going to hit everybody, and it's going to cancel all buffs by the looks of it, while granting attack power up. At least to herself, I do believe. So, she's going to really do some dangerous damage by the looks of it, because it's looking like she'll get 2 versions of attack power increase, and then give you a defense power decrease. Not to mention paralysis, so you probably get stuck with that too. That said, you definitely want to keep all the buffs and debuffs in check, or just wipe her out as quick as possible. Simple as that. And it does say something about 5 charge gauges, so it seems like it'll take a while before she hits you with something. Yeah. 5 charge gauges, so it'll take a while before she hits you with either one of her charge attacks, the one that hits you randomly 5 times, or the one that hits you with the raging. But even then, all those triggers is a problem. So that's something to know. Also, we're going to look at her later, but I know, and I don't know why it's ISIS given the whole terrorism thing, but yeah, that's the new SSR that's going to appear. She's going to be Wind. Die is another one they recommend because damage cuts as well. So I'm guessing ISIS has one. There's an SR that has it as well. So you definitely might want some damage cuts in there if you can. You want to definitely remove debuffs and buffs if you can. Honestly, it's looking like I'm more suited with my light team, but the way I've set them up, I'd have to swap out Tish for Soul, because I put Soul in backline if I don't need healing. They said that John Dark is very great, so it's probably good timing for me to get her soul weapon, because I'm going to get more HP on my fire team, and on top of that, her damage cut goes up to 60% with that weapon. So, yeah, definitely helps. But anyways, this is the stuff that you're mainly aiming for right here. Of course, the second weapon is going to take a lot of materials, because it never ever changes the amount that you need, which you're going to need a lot of materials for, pure point blank. I can put it like this: you can get the other SSR weapon 2 times before you get the first one, because that's the thing. This gun, I don't know if it's a better one or not until I look at its skills, but you can easily get full copy of that twice before the first one, if they will allow you to get more than 4. And then if you do need the SR weapons, they're cheap. If you need grimoires, it's going to take you a little bit of material, so keep that in mind. Half elixirs, it's not too hard to get those. You can get those materials from standard, probably even beginner. So that's something to know. Same case for the gacha tickets. The soul points can take a lot, depending on how many you need. And then the magic jewels usually take a lot too. I almost never get all 3,000 unless I got plenty of time to grind this out. And then there's Dragonic Eye Shards if you want them. I absolutely suggest you can get them if you can keep farming Ragnarok every single day. It still depends on your final breaks. But anyways, this is what we're looking at here. Now, I knew about what her effect was if you set her as a main. If you summon her It's a random effect on the entire enemy or ally. I'm not sure what that does, and I'm not sure I want to know. Because if it's anything like that free SR we got from the Almothea event, that probably means you could see buffs getting on your enemies or debuffs on your team. I'm not gonna like that if that's the case. It'll probably be the case of, if it's like that, it'll be the same case as Saint Nicholas. You just don't want to summon her. But her attack power is actually pretty decent. 1900 is very strong. And then she gives you a nice chunk of HP to go with it, so that's something else to know. Now, the gun definitely has a little bit more weight, because I can see that right now. It says HP up large, meaning that is a large defender. But it says, as the character's HP is smaller, attack power up. So we are getting a small Pride. But Pride is still very good. Pride is practically a assault. So, yeah. And then we have an actual assault weapon that also comes up with Stinger, which is the critical hit chance. Again, another very good weapon. So in this case, I would suggest getting both. And as far as it goes with the SR weapons, neither one of them have assault, so that's up to you if you want them. If you're going for the SSR stuff, you won't need the Defender, because one of them comes with it, and a large one at that. But Stinger is up to you. Stinger can be helpful, but you need to either be A, lucky as ever, if you have very little, or you have to get a lot of it. But from what I've heard, the more you get, the less damage it's going to deal when it triggers. So, who knows? Again, that's completely up to you. I'm going to need my fire team anyways by the looks of this, because it's saying to clear ultimate with a fire character. With fire characters, so yeah. Looks like Belial's going to get some use it regardless. But, it's the same typical stuff. Clear 5 times, clear without elixirs, clear with certain rarities. It's typical stuff. But we're going to go a little bit further into this. I definitely want to see what Medjed does, because that is definitely a big thing. If her summon does some crazy stuff, oh boy. Okay, it says attack up, defense up, avoidance up on allies, attack down, defense down for the enemy. That's actually pretty good, but the usage interval is 12 turns. That is the longest cooldown I've seen for any add-on. So summoning her is not going to be frequent. Thankfully, though, the thing about add-ons in your main slot is the fact that sometimes an enemy might drop something that reduces their summon time by 5 turns. So if you get lucky, you can cut it down by half, maybe more, before a round's even up. So in fights with multiple rounds, you might be able to pull it off. But if it's a 1-round thing like Ragnarok fights or something like that, don't count on it. And naturally, this goes without saying, but since she's Thunder, her event's going to be Thunder. The weapons are Thunder, as we've seen. Win team's got the advantage. Now, does it mean you have to use your win team? No. In fact, one of the missions called for a fire team. However, the thing that I must point out, and this is a very big thing, you might eventually want to spread your power out to all your elements. I'm at a point where I can definitely start doing that because my fire team's getting up there, my light team's pretty much covered. But you should focus on one element at a time. I mean, when events roll around, go get the weapons and all that type of stuff, but when it comes to putting your resources and skill leveling and all that, it's best to focus on one element at a time and power them up. Primarily the ones with 100% add-ons. That's why I'm making a beeline for fire. But that's the whole thing. You have to try and pace yourself when it comes to upgrading. When it comes to getting this stuff, just go at it. If you get one strong element, you'll be good. But the thing is, if it's not light or dark, you probably will have to deal with weaknesses. Like, is this clearable with a water team? Yes, if they're strong enough. Would I recommend it? Hell no. So that's where, if you don't have light or dark, you might want to get 2 elements instead of 1. But eventually, you're going to want to spread out to everybody. That's something I just got to point out there. Especially for later content down the line, which we're going to take a sneak peek at. But before we do anything else, I have to go up there and find out what this new Kamihime does. At least this new SSR one. She's honestly incredibly cute. The name's just kind of weird because you know the whole thing. But she does give damage cut with thunder resistance, which is just like Gaia, only will last for a long time. Vigorous. We have our first hint. We have our first chance at Vigorous. Now, what Vigorous does, I think, if this is the same Vigorous that would come off of a weapon, then the higher your HP, the bigger the buff. I don't know what that permanent one time is, but she got some self-recovery of 2,000 HP. That alone is very, very strong. Improved ability uses interval when damaged. So if she is hit, does that mean it's going to lower her turn count on these? Oh, wow. Let's go take a bigger look. Oh, yeah, it works like Vigor. So as long as you have at least more than 50% HP, then that buff is going to start adding more attack power to you. Now, when it's at its strongest point, then you'll get a whopping 20% damage increase. And Vigor counts as its own thing, so it'll stack with the other type of buffs, like attack ups or elemental attack. So yeah, that's something to know. But that's the whole thing about Vigor. It stops working when you hit 50% HP. But it's in its own frame, meaning it's a totally separate multiplier. If you have Vigor and Pride, they're two separate things. Pride's going to go towards Assault, Vigor's going to go to its own thing. So that's something to know about. And it is a 5-turn buff, so it actually is pretty strong. You just got to keep your HP up. In her case, she could keep her own up pretty nicely. But anyways, this protection, it's going to sip and have her take the brunt of the damage. But everybody gets a 20% damage cut towards Thunder. So, unless you want her to take damage, the damage cut's going to be pretty situational. So, that's the thing. It's not as great as I thought it would be. But it lasts 5 turns. But that's what you gotta be careful about too, because her self-heal is very powerful, but because her protection is 5 turns, that means you'll be taking all the damage from single target stuff for a long time. So you gotta be careful. Let's see. The trigger rate on her other one is kind of low, so the cooldown can get shortened, but the rate of it's kind of low. So whenever she gets hit, there's a chance that her cooldown's going down by, I'm guessing, 1 turn, because if it's any more than that, it's going to be too powerful, even with the low chance. But she's an interesting one. I can definitely give her that. Her strong points is definitely the self-recovery and the vigor. That protection is what kind of throws her off a little bit, because it's an elemental cut, which gives it less weight. And then she's protecting everybody from single target attacks, meaning she'll be focused on everything for 5 turns. That can kill her off pretty quick if you use it wrong. So, personally, would I go for her? Not really. But she's not bad if you can get her. Just be careful how you use her. But the good thing is that her burst gives herself a barrier, so that can help with her survivability. So, yeah. But what's a permanent one time? That's the one thing I want to see. Indomitable. If that's what I think it is, then that means that I think Indomitable means that she won't die from a fatal hit one time. I think that's what Indomitable means. It might be the same thing as Kushinada's thing, if you got the Dark Kushinada like I pulled recently. So that's something to know. Okay, that might save her a little bit more if that's the case. I hope that's the case. But yeah, she's a very good defensive one if you can use her correctly. I can already see that. And her HP actually goes pretty high for base stats. So that's something to know. But anyways, that's all I got for this. Now, like I said, there's a sneak peek I'm going to do for future content. First of which is the Epic Quest thing, because we're already going over something with Advent events. Epic Quest brings out previous raid events, and we're able to go get their stuff. Like Krurok, Jorgamonger, Quetzalcoatl, Sandalphon, Durahan, Barong, Trivia. They're going to add those eventually, but probably not till next year, because they just recently got a lot of these on DMM. And at the end of last year, too. So, it will give you a shot at getting previous Kamihime and previous Adolins for free. Probably their weapons, too. Now, I don't know if they'll ever do this, but it might even open up the possibility of final break weapons for these raid weapons, so who knows. If they do it, go back and get them. If they don't, then don't worry about it too much. If you are a player that's like still needing some stuff for their grids when it does eventually come out, then I wouldn't really go out of your way for it. But it is kind of easy to get some of their stuff from what I've seen, because they all use their own special little items or whatnot. And the difficulty level is pretty easy at that point. It says only beginner and standard for easy. I mean, for levels of difficulty, so everybody should be able to get this stuff pretty nicely. That means you can still get this stuff for like upgrading other things or getting Adon orbs. It's a thought. So keep that in mind. And something else to look forward to later down the line. We might be getting pretty close to this. But right now our catastrophe fights are named Ragnarok. They're going to change to Ultimate, and we're going to get harder ones. I mentioned this before, but yes, these are going to be very, very, very difficult fights. Like the light one, oh boy, she's going to hit you with a lot of stuff that can just start wiping people out one by one. It is going to be recommended to do these in a group, but it may very well be possible to solo some of these. I don't know for sure. All I know is this: if you are trying to solo, you're out of your freaking mind, because look at all this freaking HP you got to deal with just for the fire catastrophe. Because when you go into the true Ragnarok fire catastrophe, and the protection value, I never really fully understood what that is. Just know if it's higher, you're doing less damage. And the debuff tolerance is on expert level. If you've done Tower of Malice, expert level debuff resistance is where you really start missing a lot. That sucks. But yeah, these fights, they start having assistance where they have a huge chunk of HP. This is like 75 million if you combine the two of them. And then she's got 120 million on her own. And remember, she had 19 million on the fights we currently have. So yeah. Yeah. But it is going to allow us to get extra accessory slots and some very interesting stuff like the Phantom weapons, finally. So that's something that's very, very soon, I do believe. I just don't know when it's going to happen. Yet every time I say that, it usually comes out like maybe a week or two later. But anyways, the ice one's going to have ultimate debuff tolerance. The wind one, I'm not surprised. The wind one has some serious debuff tolerance. Like, if it says Ragnarok for debuff tolerance and you're ever looking at these things, almost never expect a debuff to land, period. So you're practically trying to go with just raw damage. And that's a lot of raw damage you gotta deal. Thankfully, they put her on expert, so they kind of nerfed her a little bit. I don't know. Oh wow, Thunder was beginner? That was easy then. You could land a lot of stuff on her. Yeah, standard, I'm not surprised. They don't have the info on the light ones though. But like I said, the light catastrophe is going to kill you a lot. But that's just those. DMM side went a step further. And you can get these enemies you fight here. But the Guardian Angel battles, yeah, have you seen where I did a video talking about trying to optimize damage and everything? I did show a video of one of the Guardian Angel fights. And yeah. Yeah. 230 million HP. Enough said. You can and need soul of these, but the video I showed was like 60 something turns. But all I know is that those HP values are crazy. You thought some of the fights we had already is bad? Multiply the HP amounts by 10 or even 20. I said multiply. So yeah. But this has some very, very powerful stuff you can actually get too. Like I do believe you can get previous stuff from the catastrophe fights drop from this. Biggest thing is that you get Adoans that massively, well, I don't know if they massively spike it, but if I'm looking at it correctly, they'll like increase the elemental weapon skills by like 40%, I do believe, up to 40%. Meaning that I think your assault value would jump from like 100 to 140, for example. I don't know that for sure, but that's what they do. They may or may not be good. Using them in combination with 100% Adoan might actually help pretty nicely. I don't know. But if you already have 100% Adoan, which is probably likely at this point if you're playing right now, then yeah, because by the time this rolls around, you may or may not have pulled 100% Adoan. You may or may not have racked up the Dragonic guys to just go get them from the special ticket anyway. But yeah, that's some stuff to look forward to. Epic quests going to be super easy. The harder catastrophe fights are going to be very, very difficult, but it opens up a lot of opportunities, like the accessory effects. Imagine this. There's a TR accessory effect where you get 15% added to both combo rates. Well, if the Kamihime is awakened, out the gate they have a 25% chance of double attack and a 20% chance of triple. They have a 45% combo rate. And that's not including anything else that might spike it, especially in the Union events where you can up the combo rate even further. Just off the top of my head, a double attack increase maxed out from your Union fights would add another 25%, so they got a 50% chance of double combos. Although if you have somebody like, say, Cybele that forces it, yeah, there's that too. But anyways, like I said, there's a lot of stuff to look forward to later down the line. But the main thing we got to focus on now is the Medjed fight, so that's going to be prep work for this harder stuff later. But believe me when I say this game is probably far from done. So hopefully it's not going to crash and burn like the Dragon Providence stuff and all that. And it's also looking like Parapero Seduction might actually be on its last legs or whatever. Who knows? Because it's about to hit the point where it stopped on DMM. I don't know. But anyways, that's all for this video, guys. I don't know when I'm going to actually post the Guild Order fight I did, but I definitely know the very next video is going to be a solo vid I did during the Union event, which was like a few days ago, to be quite honest. I'm just not trying to upload too many videos a day when it comes down to it. But anyways, that's definitely going to be the next video. I'm going to end up posting it pretty soon. That said, when it comes to Union events as well, you definitely want to grind those out just for extra crap and all that. I managed to get a nice chunk of magic jewels, which I already used, along with a decent chunk of Dragonic eyes. I'm almost at the point where I can get a 7th one. And then there's still the books you can get, the upgrade materials. That's the only way I've seen that you can actually get the enhancement materials for accessories, which give you a ton of experience. It's like they're not bad. You just have to be tedious on it because it's like a serious grind. If you want everything, which includes all the weapons and everything like that, you're going to have to get a lot of points and with the help of others. So unless you could somehow get like 30 million participation points on your own, but it's worth it. It really is. Plus, I'm going to be selling that loan for more add-on orbs. I don't know about anybody else. But anyways, like I said, that's all for this video. Medjed event's coming up soon, so of course you're going to see me do at least a Ragnarok fight on that. It's going to be a fresh experience too, especially with all those triggers. You're going to see that. Next video is going to be a solo one of the and it's a high level union fight too. And then on top of that, eventually I'm going to post that guild order fight because, like I said, I want to do one of Dohan. Now, to be quite honest, I haven't been doing too much guild order. But at the same time, I haven't been getting too many final break weapons. And the ones I do get, I gotta go out my way to get other materials for anyway. So I don't have too much of a rush on the guild order, but I could still be doing it. I've got too much on my plate as is, though. But anyways, that's all for this video, guys. Take care.